everybody. Dan Illman and Mike Beer taking a look at the DRF race of the day. This is for Friday, June the 28th. Race number 6 at Belmont at the Big A kicks off a late pick 4. We're going 3/4 of a mile on the outer turf. Let's take a look at this overflow field of maiden special weights. These are fillies and mares. This is a pretty competitive group, Mike. Some of these horses have shown some ability. The number 1, Lamorna, 3-1 on the morning line, returns off of a layoff for trainer Belmont.
Yeah, she ran 3 times last year on the turf. Then I thought she ran pretty well in all of those races, but she didn't have any speed. So we'll see, if you want to take a short price on her as she sprints off the layoff.
The number 9, Scarlet Poppy, also returns off of a shorter layoff. She's 6-1 on the morning line. Flavian Pratt, Wesley Ward cutting back in distance. Whenever you see a Wesley Ward trainee, you think speed. We throw up our Timeform US pace projector, and despite cutting back in distance, Scarlet Poppy expected to make the top. I will say this. The number 2, Echo Baby, was very fast out of the gate in her debut last year.
She was. She got up on the pace that day and just didn't run that well. Her second start, she wasn't quite as fast, and over this turf course, and she did not run well that day either. But she should go forward in this race, I would think. I mean, the Ward horse does exit a fast-paced race going long, so we'll see if she can get forward in here.
Risk threshold out too late. The 5 and the 6 were both up close to the pace in 2-turn races most recently. We're going to start things off with the number 1, Lamorna. This horse ran 3 times last year, as Mike mentioned, ran well every time, and I just think this layoff is going to benefit her to a T. She just looked green in a lot of her races last year, especially her debut, where she broke very badly, came with a big wide run on the turn, and must have swapped leads about 20 times in the stretch. Here's her most recent start as a 2-year-old, her 3rd lifetime appearance, didn't break well again, far back turning for home. The fact that she makes this close coming from left field shows that there's something here.
I agree. And the other thing to take note of as you watch this replay, Dan, is look at all the other horses closing ground, because there aren't any. She's the only one who's gaining, and she's gaining quickly here. I thought this was a real step in the right direction, even though her figures declined in her second and third starts. I think this is the best race that she ran. And I'm with you, Dan. I mean, to me, she looked like a green horse as a 2-year-old, and I wonder how much better she can get as a 3-year-old. I think there's a lot of potential here.
And that was a quality race in New York last time out. The winner came back and placed at the fairgrounds in a 2-life allowance with a 65 buyer. Mott can certainly win off the bench, as we know, and I won't be surprised if this one gets a little bit of pace. It's all about the break, really, for the number 1, Lamorna. Don't want to be too far out of it, but she does have the fastest Timeform US late pace rating. Echo Baby took some money for a career debut at Saratoga last summer, showed some good speed. I believe the horse she was pressing was the favorite that came back to win her next start. She got a little bit tired in that race, then came back and got wired. Now she returns off a lengthy layoff with Lasix. I think she can be close to the pace. I respect the Englehart barn.
I do too. I do think she can do better, Dan. I kind of wanted to like her her 2 races last year a little bit more. And I hear what you're saying. She dueled with the favorite in the debut. I still didn't think that she ran that well in there. Couldn't get by that horse, but that was a closer's race. I really hated her second start. I just didn't see her excuse that day, and she didn't run well. I suspect that she can do better. Lasix on too.
The number 3 is Nona. This is one of 2 first-time starters in the field. This one's trained by John Kimmel. What a strong pedigree by Uncle Mo. We know they can do everything. A lot of precocity on the bottom half of the pedigree. The second dam was a stakes-winning dirt sprinter. The dam was a multiple stakes-winning turf sprinter, earned a 96 buyer on the grass. Steady string of works for the debut. 20-1 on the morning line for a horse with this kind of pedigree. It's not the worst 20-1 shot in the world.
You can do worse for sure. There's 2 first-time starters in the body of the race who are interesting. There's a first-time starter on the AE list who is interesting as well. We'll see how it all plays out. You mentioned, though, this dam, she could really run on the grass. 9 for 15 on the turf in her career, and they're just all really fast races. She was an excellent turf sprinter.
Bam Bam is the number 4, the other first-time starter in the body of the race. This one is trained by Brad Cox. She sold for $170,000 as a 2-year-old in training last year. She breezed a furlong in 10 seconds flat. The dam was a grade 3 stakes winner going down the hill at about 6.5 furlongs in Southern California. She has foaled 4 turf winners from 7 runners. I like this work tab for Brad Cox. 6-1, get Manny Franco as well.
I like the way she's breezing too. I also like that, even though she didn't get to start last year, when they paid $170,000 for her, she looked like a turf horse breezing 10 flat. So I think this is probably the right surface for her, Dan. I like the way she's breezing up to it. I guess listen, I don't like taking first-time starters anyway, and it's your call. I think you want to wait and see the price first. you can look up Cox's numbers with horses like this, debuting in turf sprints in Formulator. They're not good numbers. It seems like they need a race when he debuts them in races like this, but I'm not arguing with this horse.
A horse that figures to take some money, and here is the number 5. That's Risk Threshold, going out for Chad Brown, Arad Ortiz Jr. She made her career debut at Gulfstream Park, and she must have missed the break by about 5 lengths that day. Split horses on the turn, got up for third. Much anticipated second start at Keeneland we're going to show right now. Going a mile, she was odds on in here. She showed a lot more early speed. She has a clear lead in the stretch, and I have to be honest, I don't like the loss.
I don't like the loss here either. She was, I do think it's at least worth pointing out. She was a little hard to settle. Like she made the lead this time, but it seemed like she didn't really want to settle up front. And now she's just never going to hold this horse off through the stretch. I'm with you, Dan. I was a little disappointed here. I do think she has some talent. I don't know that I love her cutting back to sprinting here, but maybe it'll work. And listen, Irad takes over this time. I think you're going to get a better effort out of this filly, and maybe it'll be enough.
Out Too Late is the number 6. She raced once last year at Saratoga, and she just got cooked on a very hot pace in a 2-turn race, debuting for Michael Maker. The third horse came back, placed in a stakes race at Kentucky Downs with a 71 buyer, although she is still a maiden. This is the jockey's second call. I'm basically going to treat her kind of like a first-time starter, Mike. She's returning off the layoff, sprinting. I think she'll show some speed. I wonder if she needs one.
I like that idea. And it'll be interesting to see what she does sprinting this time, because it almost, when you watch that debut, Dan, I don't know if you feel the same way, it felt like Santana had designs on making the lead there, and they wouldn't let her have it. A couple of horses rushed up to her outside, and she had to take a hold, let them go, but she didn't really want to sit. I feel like she ran better than the ultimate running line actually looks in that debut, in her only start as a 2-year-old.
Parade Ring is Kendrick Carmouche's second call. His first call's on the also eligible list. Parade Ring showed some speed last time out in New York, pressed a pretty solid pace. That went 44 and change to the half. Got a little bit tired late. The 7th finisher came back to graduate on the synth at Presque Isle with a 75 buyer. So maybe she's getting a little bit of better. I could see her being forward here.
I can too. To me, she was the toughest call in the race, because I feel like all 3 of her turf sprints, if I wanted to, I could make excuses for them and sort of dress her up a little bit and say that she's better than she looks on paper. I guess if I'm going to do that, it'll all come down to price. And the 8-1 morning line is probably about right. If you can do even better than that, I would like her more, Dan. I think there's a chance she's okay, but I'm not totally sold on her.
The number 8 is Chardin. This one sprints for the first time after routing twice in Gulfstream. Really didn't show a lot of kick in either one of those 2-turn races. Maybe it'll be enhanced as she turns back in distance. I guess that was a pretty good field she was in against last time out on the Tapeta. The runner-up came back and placed in a turf maiden up here with a 78 buyer for Clement.
Yeah, just didn't like her 2 races enough. Maybe sprinting will really work for her, although her pedigree says that she's supposed to be good going long. I just didn't think that she ran well, and I didn't see excuses for her in either of those first 2 starts.
Scarlet Poppy, the number 9, is Pratt's second call. The first call is Tipple on the also eligible list. The Wesley Ward trained firster showed good speed and was on a pressured pace going 2 turns at Keeneland in her 1 start during the spring, and she got very, very tired. Now, that's a pretty good field. A couple next out winners. The runner-up not only came back to graduate, then won a graded stakes race down at Churchill Downs with an 86 buyer speed figure. So she figures she's expected to show speed. Interesting that they did debut her going 2 turns.
Yeah, I agree with you. That makes me think that, I don't know, I'm supposed to like her sprinting now? I don't know, man. She did run okay in there. The pace was fast. And so maybe that's enough of an excuse, Dan. I mean, you could go watch that replay. They just swamped her at the top of the stretch. They came for her, and there was nothing that she could do about it. I don't know. I thought she ran okay in that race. I didn't love it, and I don't know if I love her cutting back.
Final horse in the body of the field is the 10 Stage Presence. Didn't take a ton of money considering these connections at Monmouth first time out. I thought Jairo Rendon gave her a good trip considering she broke from post 10. Let's take a look at Stage Presence, who basically made her way to the inside on the backstretch, got out at the right time. She does have a lot of work to do, but this pace is pretty strong. I like this late run Stage Presence puts in.
I do too. I agree with your take, though. I mean, the pace was pretty fast in front of her, and I love the ride that this guy gave her for a closing sprinter, but she's running in the last furlong here, and that's an odds-on favorite that she's going to come up just short of here at the end, and a horse, by the way, who already had experience too. So I don't know. I thought her debut was fine. It's always worth noting that Clement is great with first-time starters, so I just suspect that she was really ready to run that day, and I thought she ran fine. I don't know, Dan. I kind of feel like she's the horse to beat in the air, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
The 11 and 12 are also eligibles. The 13 is a main track only runner. Of the also eligibles, I think we have to talk about the 12 Tipple, Pratt's first call, a first-time starter for Linda Rice.
Yeah, by constitution, which I don't love them sprinting on the grass, but there's a lot of turf and sprint on the bottom of this pedigree. It'll be interesting to see what she does if she gets it.
Before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time, maiden special weight, race 6, Friday race of the day, kicks off a pick 4, Lamorna, Mike. I'm beginning to have a little bit of remorse. I don't have her higher up in my picks because, again, she was a little bit green last year. If she gets out of the gate, I'm expecting her to kick.
I just liked her races last year. Then I don't love her running style, obviously, as a turf sprinter. I'm just going to hope that she's a little more grown up and won't be so far away this time. I took her. I'm not going to sit or suggest I would bet her at some kind of short price in this race, but I like her in here, and I think the 10 is going to be pretty tough.
I think the 10 is going to be tough as well. Another tough outside post position. We'll see if she shows a little bit more speed this time around. I'm a little bit interested in those first-time starters.
Yeah.
Bam Bam, to me, does have a turfy pedigree. I kind of like the workouts leading up to this race. It'll be interesting to see what kind of speed we see out of her from the gate. She did show a little bit of speed during that 2-year-old in training sale work. 1:10.56 for me, 4:3:10.5, 1:5:10.56 for Mike. 4:3:10.5 for me. Pick 4, kicking it off. 50-cent pick 4, late pick 4 at Belmont at the Big A. Good luck.